to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I want to talk about addressing anger and emotional hangovers. The meeting that I went to today talked a little bit about this. And I had a brief conversation with somebody I know, and we were talking about holding on to anger. And I wanted to talk about my experience with that. And it's not because I want to try to give advice to anyone who is dealing with any sort of justified anger or holding a grudge or anything like that. But I do want to talk about my experience with it. And, maybe I'll realize that I'm holding on to something. I recently went through something that I think I had justified anger, but it took me a couple weeks, 2 weeks, to look at it, process it, feel it, and decide what I was going to do with it. Because if I'm angry, it requires an action. If I don't take an action, I'm just going to remain angry. So I wanted to talk about that. It brings up a memory of mine where I was at the airport. I think I was picking up my mom from Dulles Airport, and we were abiding by all traffic laws, and there was someone near us who did not and was super just out of his mind driving and inappropriate, and was treating us very meanly in his car. And my mom got pissed, and I was pissed too. I'm not saying it was just her, but when we were talking about it for 5 minutes or so, I realized, and we talked about this, how, the guy that pissed us off has already moved on. He's probably not even thinking about what happened and will never think about it again. But yet we are holding on to that. And it's going to stay there forever unless we take an action. And that action could be letting it go. That action could be taking down his license plate and reporting him. Something has to happen, or else that anger is going to do something. It's almost like, it feels to me that if I don't do something about the anger, then the anger is going to do something to me. When I was drinking, I was very familiar with emotional hangovers. And that is when you do something the night before that you barely remember the next morning, and you regret it. You think, oh, that wasn't even me. I can't believe I did that, because there is a bit of insanity involved when we're drinking. When I'm drinking, I'm not the same person that I am when I'm drinking. I'm not the same person as when I'm not drinking. So I will do and say things that I wouldn't do or say otherwise if I was sober. So this idea of emotional hangovers came up today in one of my meetings as well. So I want to talk about how these concepts are or something that really makes the difference between being emotionally sober and not emotionally sober. So this is beyond the drink. And this really applies to people who don't have a an addiction or alcoholism or anything. It really applies if you're a human being. And I think that it's kind of fun sometimes to share about how do we do it in Alcoholics Anonymous, because those who have never been introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous likely don't have not been introduced to this way of doing these kinds of internal spot checks on a daily basis, or reviewing their behavior at the beginning or end of the day, like cleaning house before you go to bed, putting that stuff on your nightstand because it's going to be there when you wake up in the morning and there's no use in sleeping with it. Those ideas. Now, I know that it's not unique to AA, but it was introduced to me in AA. So I imagine that there are folks that it hasn't been introduced to, or if you're into self-help books and that kind of thing, um, I'm sure that that introduces all of these thoughts as well. But it's interesting to share about it with like my niece and my kids, these kinds of ideas that I didn't even, nobody introduced them to me when I was their age. So I like to, when I hear somebody struggling with something, I like to talk about the way that I have learned how to handle it in my life, and maybe it's helpful to others. And the importance of this is maintaining emotional and spiritual well-being. So step 10 comes to mind. And step 10 is just doing a daily review of our behavior, our actions, where today was I angry or afraid? Do I owe anybody an apology? That kind of thing. Um, this this allows me to recognize on a daily basis, is there some sort of feeling inside of me that likes to tuck itself away in my dark place that I need to do something about? Do I need to take action on a feeling, or is that feeling going to do something to me? Take an action on me, meaning cause depression? Is it going to kind of chip away at my emotional and spiritual health? So this continuous self-assessment helps me to prevent that buildup of resentment and grudges that can jeopardize my sobriety. And when I say my sobriety, like emotional sobriety, I believe everybody, whether you're an alcoholic or not, can benefit from this idea of emotional sobriety, because so often we find different ways to thrive emotionally. Some of those relationships that you run across where the couple just fights nonstop, and you're like, I don't know how they live in that sort of relationship. It's like 100% drama, and yet they still love each other. And I just don't get it. Like, they can say terrible, nasty things to each other, and then they forgive each other and they're fine. I don't understand that. And I could not be in a relationship like that. I have this thing about I will hold on to a grudge for the rest of my freaking life. And I came by it honestly. um, and to it's hard to let it go because I feel like I'm doing something about the problem by holding on to the grudge, right? If I'm resentful, as long as I stay angry, that person I am angry at is still suffering. And that is not true. They are enjoying their lives. I'm the one who's suffering. The only person affected by my anger is myself. So emotional hangovers, which is just a little different. I'm gonna switch gears, go to emotional hangers. I'll come back to this justified anger, but emotional hangovers occur when we hold on to these. For me, it's more feelings of shame and guilt. That's where emotional hangovers are for me. I suppose emotional hangovers can also be due to anger and resentments as well, depending on your makeup and how you behave when you're drinking, or when you're, if you're not in recovery, when you do things that you might regret later. So these feelings linger and they affect our mood long term. They affect our behavior long after the triggering event. So step 10 in my sobriety program encourages me to do a regular spot check throughout the day. Okay, it starts with the day. And I didn't even know it when I started doing this, but I've told you guys about it before. But for those who are new listeners, I have this nightly prayer. Somebody in my first year of sobriety, I should have brought it in here. In my first year of sobriety, actually, I have it here. I'm going to pull it up. Sorry. In my first year of sobriety, gave me this little prayer card, and it has me reflect on my day and my relationships. Where did I do things that maybe I need to apologize, or maybe came across wrong, or something like that? I'm going to pull it up real quick because somebody asked me for it today. So this is the prayer that until I had my stroke, I read it every night before bed. And I would read it and I would stop with every word and really assess my day. So here we go. It says, God, forgive me where I have been resentful. Okay, and I stop and I think about who I interacted with that day, and was I resentful? Then selfish. I think about whoever I interacted with that day and think about, is there a place that I was selfish? And actually, with each word, I would remember different people that I interacted with throughout the day. So I'll read the rest of the thing. God, forgive me where I've been resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid today. Help me to not keep anything to myself, but to discuss it all openly with another person. Show me where I owe an apology and help me make it. Help me to be kind and loving to all people. Use me in the mainstream of life. Remove worry, remorse, or morbid reflections, that I may be of usefulness to you and my fellows. Amen. So this is from the Big Book, page 86, for those of you who are in recovery. But I'm telling you, you don't need to be an alcoholic to benefit from this nightly prayer. It's just, it was whatever I might have been feeling a little uppity about before bed, it really just calmed everything down. It was like running my it was like running my emotions through a dishwasher every night before I went to bed. And then whatever grime might have fallen off, if I needed to send somebody a text or call somebody, I would, because there were times that I'm like, you know what? I was a little dishonest and I need to own up to that, you know? And it sounds scary, but once you make it a habit, once you get over that hump of being a little fearful of approaching people with something that you may have done wrong, it actually feels really good. And you start to understand that people are not out to get you for the most part. Like people are not waiting to find a reason to be mad at you, you know? So this is the nightly prayer that I really find helpful. And that was my end of the day thing. So there's also these spot checks throughout the day, which I like to do after I interacted with somebody. If I had some downtime after I interacted with somebody, I would think about and then address anything before they fester. And there were times, you know, it doesn't mean I'm running around saying I'm sorry to everybody constantly. That's annoying. So it's not that. But at the end of the day, my prayer allowed me to then again review my actions, acknowledge any mistakes, and make amends where necessary. And it was a way of keeping my emotional state very balanced. Once I had my stroke, I could not read from that card anymore. So I got out of the habit of doing it. But luckily, I had it up here now. You know, I've been doing it for so many years now that I just do it without reading from the card. Could I recite the card to you without looking? No, I think I've just proven that because I had to look it up. But for some reason, I can't seem to memorize it. But I know what it says. You know, it's in general, it's telling me to look at, was I the best version of me today? You know, who did I interact with today, and what was I the best version of me? And that's basically what I'm doing, and I still do it. I do it at night before I go to bed, but I think more so now I do it throughout the day. So back to this justified anger and emotional grudges. So anger can feel very justified. And especially when we feel like we have been wronged and it's obvious that we have been hurt, and I did not play a role in that. I was a victim. I didn't do anything to deserve to be treated that way. But holding on to that anger can be detrimental to me, my well-being, my happiness, being able to surface joy. If I stuff that anger in my dark place, it's like a magnet, and it will bring every dark thing that I encounter, it will suck it down into that dark place. So I can't afford it. I can't afford to hold on to anything. I just can't. And the way that I navigate this is, my go-to is to consider that other people might be emotionally ill and suffering from their own pains. So just like I'm learning how to grow up, just like I've been learning how to grow up my whole life, I have made a ton of mistakes. I have done things that I would never tell you on this podcast. I would never tell my mother. I would never tell my kids, because I like to learn things the hard way. I just do. And I've done it my whole life. And I feel like I'm getting better at not learning things the hard way. But when I was drinking and not really working on my emotional health, and I had zero spirituality, I had zero direction as far as purpose. I didn't get it. I was living on a very shallow plane. Um, I was emotionally ill. I'm still emotionally ill. I will always be emotionally ill because I have invisible illnesses that I take medication for. And without that medication, I'm severely ill. But consider that when somebody else makes you angry or does something that you think, I never would have done something like that. Never. In a million years would I have done that to you, what you did to me. Um, Recognize that they don't have a brochure for living, just like you don't have a brochure for living. Recognize that we can possibly approach situations with empathy for the other person rather than anger. Um, when I'm angry, my motive is to win, to teach somebody a lesson, to punish them, um, instead of having the motive of creating peace. It's like I want the turmoil, I want the darkness to hang over that relationship because it will teach that person a lesson. And the truth is, it's not. Nothing that I'm feeling on the inside of me is teaching anyone a lesson. Nothing that I'm holding on to and I stuff in my dark place is punishing anyone. Most likely, that person has absolutely no idea how angry you are. So, what do you do about it? Do you just let it go? I mean, how do you just let it go? It's anger. Um, Even when we have the opportunity to express ourselves, how angry somebody made us, it's even difficult to let it go then. Um, but I think the most important part that I hold on to is that if I keep being angry, it's going to impact my future. I cannot be the best version of me if I hold on to anger. It's going to stop me from growing in some aspect of my life. Um, Anger is not adding value to my life. Um, is it, again, is it serving any kind of purpose? No, it's not doing anything. It's just an energy that is existing inside of me. So how do you get rid of the energy? That's a great question. I don't have the best answer for that. What I do have the answer to in my life is that if it's not adding value to my life, then I'm going to get rid of it because I have the choice to do that. I don't have to hold on to it. It almost feels like when somebody hurts me, and I can relate to this, my most recent thing that made me angry, um, I was angry that the person made me angry. I was angry that the person gave me something that I have to hold on to for the rest of my life that hurts. I was angry that everything I thought that I knew in my life was not true. I was angry that I that I was lied to. I was angry that I have to feel pain because of you. That pisses me off. Why couldn't you be more honest so that I don't have to suffer because of you? Because of your bad choices, I have to be sad, and that's not fair. Well, I have a choice. I don't have to hold on to it. I don't have to, if somebody's standing in front of me and holding anger in their hand and trying to hand it to me, I don't have to take it. I don't have to take it. You just keep it. I don't want it. I've got my own beauty and growth and joy and serenity and everything going on in my life. And just because at this very moment in time, you want to hand me something that's going to disrupt it, I don't have to take it. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to look at it and process it, but I don't have to take it and put it in my pocket and hold on to it. I just don't. And I think there are times now that I've been perceived as somebody who just doesn't give a shit or is kind of like, I can't think of the word, like la-di-da, like just living in fairy tale land. That's not true either. I'm not just living in some pretend world, but I'm very in tuned right now, at least, with this idea of not having to hold on to things that I don't want to hold on to. And I learned how to do that from my program, from the steps of AA. If there's any of you who are not alcoholics and are listening to this and you listen to it because of your stroke or whatever, and you may not feel like this resonates a lot with you, give it a shot. I'm telling you, just look at the steps of AA. You don't have to do anything. Just look at them and be like, huh, yeah, interesting. And you can shut the book and never look at it again. But it is fascinating that if you actually spend a month and focus on each step, and that a month is pretty quick. Like for me, it took me a couple of years to get through the 12 steps. But spending a month and just being like, where am I resentful to people? And journal about it, talk to somebody about it, and then actually listen to another person and be like, have a conversation about it. Sometimes you're talking about something that's years old, and that single conversation that you've never had with somebody about it can shine completely new light on what it is that you're angry about. And you may realize once you're talking about it that, I mean, why am I even angry anymore? And I was recently talking to another person who said the same thing to me. After a few months of dealing with something, she said, what am I even angry about? This doesn't have anything to do with me. It becomes part of you until you decide it's not a part of you anymore. So anger, the important part of letting go of anger and why it's so critical in sobriety is that anger can be a significant trigger. Um, it's a part of the HALT framework, the hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It's the second one, it's only second because that's how you spell HALT. It could probably be the first one if they came up with another another acronym for it. But recognizing that it needs to be addressed um, is really looking at the root of things that feel like they control us, and turning that around and considering, how can I control this? Like hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. I'm hungry. It feels like it's consuming me, that hangry feeling. Well, I have a choice. I can go get something to eat. As simple as that sounds, anger is the same way. You can feel so angry that it's just consuming you. Well, I have a choice. I can just do something about it. I don't have to hold on to it. I can just take it out of my pocket and let it go. Give it to a counselor instead of me. Lonely, same thing. I can feel so consumed and depressed and lonely, but I can do something about it. I can pick up the phone and call somebody. And same with tired. If I'm tired, which is how I've been the past couple of days, I need to sleep. I did not want to sleep today, but I had to. I don't know what's going on. I took my Emgality injection 2 days ago, and I have just had the worst headaches and tiredness. I know it does cause extreme fatigue, and that's what I'm feeling, but I've also had a little bit of a headache. But what do I do about it? Like, don't let it control me. Take a nap. I always have a choice. This is my body, and I get to choose what I'm going to do with it. Um, so yeah, I think just to wrap it up, like step 10 is what allowed me to start being able to see that I have a choice. See that I can address these emotional hangovers. I can do something about anger, even when it's justified anger. And I don't have to hold on to a grudge. It's hard. I'm still not perfect at it. I love me some grudges, but I try, and that's progress, not perfection, to clear the path for me to have some of that serenity. And that's where it comes from. It comes from me not letting things collect with that magnet in my dark place. Anger should not control me. I can use the tools that I have learned so far in my life and recovery to address anger constructively. And it allows me to lay my head on my pillow at night and be like, I don't have anything I would do differently today. I don't have anybody that I'm angry at. If there's anybody that I was angry at, I have addressed it. Everyone. There are times that things come up that I forgot, that I need to address again, but I think it's so important to make a decision about your anger. Make a final decision about, what am I going to do with this? Because the one thing I'm not going to do is hold on to it anymore. I've got to let it go. So I'm making a decision that I'm either going to tell the person, you know, I can't forgive you. And then that's it. You know, if I can't forgive somebody, they are no longer a part of my life. That's my choice. I don't have to keep somebody in my life that does not add value and growth in my life and beauty in my life. Or I can say, you know, we're different people than we were when you hurt me. You hurt me so long ago that it's really Rachel version 1.0 that you hurt. And I feel sorry for her. But I'm not Rachel version 1.0 anymore. I'm Rachel version 3.0. And I know how to process that stuff. Rachel version 1.0 didn't know how to process it. That's why I feel sorry for her. But Rachel version 1.0, she's stuck back there. You know, she's stuck back there. I'm a whole new version of myself, and I get to choose what parts of Rachel version 1.0 I'm going to bring with me to where I am today, where my feet are, and what's going to stay in the past. And I try to bring forward whatever's healthy. And I made that decision back when I got sober. I had to decide what was coming with me and what wasn't. And I used the steps to figure that out. I will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I can still look back and see what happened and what hurt, but it's back then. It's not with me anymore, you know, and I can walk forward with a clear conscience and wake up every morning. Like I said yesterday, I think it was yesterday, wake up every morning and look forward to what am I going to do today, you know, and be done. I don't have to deal with anybody else's issues anymore. I have my own issues, right? And those are the only ones I can control. I can't control people, places, and things, and I certainly cannot control the the past. So, yeah, this felt good to talk about. I hope it was beneficial to you as well. So thank you so much for joining me today on the Recovery Daily podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.